For more on these legal developments, I want to welcome on Jason Meister, a Trump 2020 advisory board member. Jason, we've been talking about this investigation for months now at this point. Kevin Clinesmith was someone where a lot of people knew that there was wrongdoing. We knew about the actions that were taking place. There just was never really this criminal investigation or a criminal referral, I guess you could see, being made against him. So what does this latest development tell you?
Thanks for having me. This is an enormous development in the Durham probe, the criminal probe that going into the origins of the Russia investigation. Let's first establish who Kevin Clinesmith is. Kevin Clinesmith was an FBI attorney who was working very closely with Peter Strzok. He arranged setting a FBI agent to the Trump-Flynn briefing. He was on the Mueller team. He was a part of the George Papadopoulos interviews, and he was also an integral part to the FISA process. And so what happened was he falsified an email in order to obtain a FISA warrant, a foreign intelligence surveillance warrant, to spy on ex-Trump campaign official Carter Page.
And I think it's even more interesting than that because Carter Page was apparently facilitating the CIA to some degree as well. He was an informant for them, and Clinesmith made sure that that point was not brought up in that email, this document that we're talking about, to make it seem like Carter Page was more nefarious, that he was just talking to foreign governments, for example, without possibly also relaying that information to the CIA. So I think that there's other things that are brought up here. It's, first of all, the lack of communication between these different departments. I think that is something that needs to be brought up, but also the mere intent of what Clinesmith was doing and his involvement in this whole investigation to begin with. So when we talk about Kevin Clinesmith, you bring up the idea that he worked on the Mueller team, took part in the Papadopoulos interviews, worked with the Strzok team in those interviews. Do you think that this is a plea in order to maybe have him flip and get more information, or do you think that he's going to see some charges levied against him?
I think he's going to see charges levied against him, but I think that it's clear to me that the fact that these charges could have been brought a long time ago, that tells me that he's been cooperating with Durham and Barr. And I think that there's way more coming down the pike for the higher ups at the Obama intel agencies.
And I think, too, that when we talk about the players of this, I mean, we all know that Joe Biden, for example, is the individual who first brought up the Logan Act, at least as of right now, what we know. Susan Rice was also involved in that. We know about her emails. We know a lot of the big players. And we recently heard that John Durham is maybe getting to the final interviews of his investigation, talking to people like Clapper or Brennan, someone like that. So when we talk about the final role of this investigation, do we expect perhaps there to be hearings in addition to this, or do you think it's going to be something that has been basically in line with what he's been doing so far, kind of staying quiet about it, behind the shadows, doing his thing, and then we're going to get a report or a court filing or something like that?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a slow rollout of indictments, criminal indictments, for all the individuals that were involved in this, what I would consider a conspiracy. And I think that we're going to see that over the next coming weeks and months. And I think that it's going to be coming out, as AG Barr said, regardless of the election. The election has nothing to do with the inevitable fact that we need to have the rule of law in this country, and those that broke the laws need to be punished to the fullest extent of the law.
And I've heard a lot of Democrats bring up the idea that they don't like the idea of an investigation being announced the same way that they didn't like James Comey announcing it to Hillary Clinton during an election. But I think this one's a little bit different because, as we said, Joe Biden and other people who may be in the Biden administration may be subjects of this investigation. So when we talk about the idea of there perhaps being a timeline, do you fear that if the investigation, Durham's investigation, goes beyond the November election, that it could be squashed altogether by Biden or other people in his DOJ?
There's absolutely no question that if the results of Durham's investigation don't come to the American people before the election, that Joe Biden and his administration will completely squash this investigation and the results. But I don't think that will happen. I think John Durham will bring the indictments prior to the election.
Yeah, I mean, John Durham is a smart guy. He has a great reputation no matter where you stand on the political spectrum. And we know that Bill Barr, too, is taking this very seriously. He's the one who kind of got past the Horowitz, the former Huber type investigations. And this looks to be one that has teeth and is getting results as of right now. So I think that they're going to make sure that we do see the findings of this investigation either before the election or at some point. But Jason Meister, I appreciate you coming on and breaking down where we stand in this investigation because it's an important one. Thank you.